What's up, systemization? Accountability is something to hope to gravitate towards. Systemization, accountability is something I'm hoping to gravitate towards. Systemization, accountability is something hoping to gravitate towards. Welcome to today's affirmation. Welcome to today's news. Welcome to today's affirmation to be top line for today. Everyone, welcome. It's breaking. Yes, systematization, accountability is something to hoping to be gravitating towards. Alright, moving on down. What we're trying to do next is we're hoping to be populating the physical presence with denseness in the world. Transposition into the world. Or C4G, which stands for Change4Games Studios, and implementation ideals. Hopeful for purpose shifting processes, processing, loading up, we're loading ourselves up, loading the digital versions of the digital phygital, which is digital and physical realm, to be populating that with Dinky Tehc and Change4Games Studios energy. Oh yeah, Dinky Tehc is like the soccer ball, and Change4Games Studios is like the environment. Dinky Tehc is like Mickey Mouse, and Change4Games Studios is like Disneyland. Or Disney Studios rather. Okay. Oh yeah, I've talked about Matt Gray in the past. His systems are semi-inspiring for conceptualizing, connecting data, as well as creativity. Oh yeah, which are two really important things in terms of developing, like a creative agency or a marketing agency, for example, to be able to try to continue to be able to spawn a brand that is percolating and populating certain products that are trying to drive the monetary energy wealth forward, yeah. And we're trying to leverage and lean in on AI agents, to be able to help with content spreading and content development and the implementation of the denseness and awareness of Dinky Tehc as a brand as a whole, and as a symbol, as a home, as a church. A church is a symbol of a home base for like the self-realization fellowship mindset, which is a combination of spirituality and science to be able to live at. So a church is a home that is an endless ability to be able to tap into the roots of endless mindsetness. A church as a home to be able to lean into the mindset processes, to be able to develop greater mindsets and be able to use the church to be able to connect with spiritual science, to understand boundlessness and mindless, endless energy within the mindset, to be able to have content circulating around the world that is coinciding with the airwaves, like that character Guille from Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, from back in the 90s, where he would be able to populate the whole screen with his boomerangs. When he would jump in the air, he could also do boomerangs into the air. When he would stop before the ground, he could fill the whole screen with the turbo version of Street Fighter 2 with his boomerang situation, the Guille character from that Street Fighting game. And for us, indeed, the denseness and the population of our messaging is to be able to denseness and awareness of the global giving games, to be able to give like childhood elements and aspects of the games that are giving games. Picture the instance and the interest to be able to connect with like a church, for example, and then Street Fighter 2, for example, where the Guille character is being able to, for example, permeate and put denseness and awareness into the world, like circulating and circumventing frequencies that are being put out by Guille, for example, is like the character, for example, for Dinky Tehc, for example, in the Change4Games Studios environment, and the church is the environment, but at the same time it populates and it percolates around the whole world. It like radiates like a radio signal, for example, and that sound hopefully goes outside. And those frequencies are like Guille sending out frequencies at all given times. And that's like us trying to make content in the future, trying to develop different types of content, and hopefully being able to conceptualize blogging to be able to someday be able to upload all this content that is also be available to the public and all people to be able to collaborate with and connect with, so they can make their own content out of Dinky Tehc content. In an ideal sense anyways, and such things, yeah. But the airwaves from a church that radiate frequency like airwaves from into the world are endless and boundless energies. Leaps and bounds into the air, like a witchcraft bookstore, like a witchcraft bookstore. We're not wasting time because we are thinking that we have more than enough time, is the hope indeed to be below the line and not above the line, because time is like an asset. It's similar to money, and in that respect, if it's also looked at with money, to be able to not have enough and necessarily be able to always be saving, and at the same time trying to grow it, at the same time doing both sides of the spectrum, so that you're saving and then you're adding that also into the asset classes, and so that you're ultimately doing both, and you're saving by not spending, and you're spending into assets, that you're widening the spectrum and you're widening the aperture for portfolio energy. And we are just trying to acknowledge that the more not wasting of time that is possible, the more that it's invested, and therefore the hustle and the push of the energies goes into wormholes and such things, and therefore you're able to take that church mindset and that boundlessness mindset and the airwave radio frequency mindset and be able to become like the airwave frequencies that is similar to the like goo, basically like goo that's flying through the air, and you become like goo and you fly through wormholes at the same time, because your mindset is able to connect with the boundless and endlessness energies in the world, in churches, for example, and you're able to make quantum leaps into the world. Oh yeah, you can make quantum leaps in the world through content development and being able to send your energy and your message through denseness and awareness, like Guille does, by sending the energies around the world by using tools, for example, like AI agents and AI development of certain content, for example, to be able to try to permeate the childhood-like games, to be able to permeate the world and become dense within the world. And all these frequencies, hopefully with the Dinky Tehc and Change4Games Studios, frequencies are more dense than all the other frequencies that are out there that are competing for people's attention, because we make it more fun, we make it more engaging, we make it so people actually want to participate with Dinky Tehc and Change4Games Studios in the long haul, in the long term, because that studio sets us again like Disneyland and such, but it's not even better, hopefully in a hopeful sense, because that thing lasts every day outside of the Disneyland parks, and it lasts all over the whole world every single day, 24 hours a day, and everybody can play in all the games 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 100% of the time, every waking moment of the day, trying to make life as best and happy as possible for everybody in every waking moment of every day, as best as possible, and all the time, as much as possible. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we're trying to add volume and weight and momentum to all of our content and be able to make quantum leaps in the mindset sense for everybody as well, in addition. So it's not just us as a brand, we're trying to take everybody with us. Indeed, kind of like Apple did when they first released the internet on the phone. They tried to bring everybody forward at the same time by releasing those capabilities to everybody, even though the other phone companies could do that at the same time. But they chose not to, because they sometimes to have constraints on supply and demand, so that the demand is high and the supply is low, and they're able to manipulate the markets to a certain extent. But when you're actually just trying to make people better, you don't really necessarily care about market manipulation, if that is a thing. Oh yeah, let's hope so. Okay, so yeah, we're trying to have physical tools and physical hardware to be able to propagate and facilitate these motions forward as well, such as internet TV, for example, and then hardware attaching to those games and these things that are being filmed and such things, so that the community and the global causes for good, and the games, oh yeah, are fun and dandy, just like when you're a kid and you dress up like an alien, you put tinfoil on your arms and such things, and you try to communicate with space and aliens that are in the world and strange items in that assortment. But it's just like putting little antennas on your brains, oh yeah, but just like, for fun and such things, and actually dressing up in tinfoil and doing that as an adult, but doing it with other weird clothing as well, because all those things actually add power to your situation. Yeah, 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 they're symbols for power. Oh, oh, oh. Either there's two options. You're either going to folks or you're waiting for them to come to you. And the philosophy for building is making a necessity to go to them. It's always about going to them. It's always about trying to make your own party. Not necessarily always making your own party and hoping people come over necessarily, but it's always about going to other parties and trying to recruit people to your party necessarily, because in the beginning you have to try to get people to know you and such things. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's also like that movie The Waking Life. In essence, you have to go to people, you have to go to the right energies, you have to find the right energies, like in that movie Waking Life. It's very interesting because they go to different people and sort of different interactions, and they're able to have different unique conversations, and it's very interesting, and it's very color-filled and interesting, and at the same time, to make your own personal brand, to make your own personal cause, to make your own personal movie in the world, it's necessary to go to the people that gravitate towards your energy, but you gravitate to their energy, and it's necessary to break through the fat of not being familiar with people in the world necessarily, and just kind of going straight to the fat of like playing a game like a child. When you're playing a game like a child, when you're on the childhood schoolyard, back in the day, you'd be able to walk up to them and just start playing the same game with them because you have the common interest in that game. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And the odds were that things would get along and you would get along and have a good time, in essence, based on the commonality and the common nature of interest based on that similar game, because you both like that game, and basically you're focused on playing that game rather than any sort of interaction or conversation that is a distraction from the game in of itself, and that is unique because you're just having fun by doing the action, and the action is the thing that caused the result. The cause and the effect, that is the most powerful thing to be able to translate into the human adult world, as opposed to the childhood world, taking the childhood elements and bringing them into the adulthood experience and the unique journey and the unique experience and the unique journey and the angle for folks that you encounter when you're making your little path, your little waking life path, when you're making your own waking life movie, when you're trying to walk around in the world and this earth and make little waking life interactions, which are philosophical interactions among people, all people that you encounter and interact with as time goes past, and you're able to do cool things with them and share games with them. But it's also about painting the picture to be able to develop a North Star, which has to do with going towards philanthropic energy, because philanthropic energy is what is the backbone and the essence and the elixir that runs the vehicles that are business vehicles that have to do with entrepreneurship vehicles that were made from scratch. Every entrepreneurship vehicle that's being able to try to build, gain monetary energy in the world, it's actually powered by philanthropy energy in the core sense, and that energy doesn't exist in the world in a super prominent sense. So we're trying to make that energy super prominent by making it more awareness that energy is a more solid fuel as opposed to monetary energy for businesses, because it causes the actual result, and you can just focus on monetary energy elsewhere in the meantime, because there's other ways to make monetary energy to fuel your life and bills and such things like that. But then when you take that out of the equation, then you're just focusing on pure philanthropic energy at the base core sense of it, and you don't care if you lose monetary energy necessarily, because you are only investing certain amounts that you're willing to lose, because you're absolutely willing to lose it, because you're absolutely willing to put it towards a cause that has to do with an entrepreneurship vehicle, that has to do with being fueled by philanthropic energy, because that is the purest form of finding entrepreneurship and gaining entrepreneurship, and for the whole world to be able to fill with entrepreneurship, because that is the essence of entrepreneurship. Oh yeah, is filling problems and helping people fulfill their problems by using philanthropic energy, and having that as the North Star for all people to chase their waking life goals and make waking life goals and develop a process and a roadmap for waking life goals to be able to persist. And therefore, all people are therefore like chasing their own football. I mean, their own soccer ball. And in essence, what you're doing is you're like morphing into goo, and you're floating into the air, and you're able to be able to elate and charm the world. Your goal is then to elate and charm the world, because you're in essence just recording your process of trying to find people. You're trying to record your process of trying to find people. You record it either with written form or in recorded form, such as this audio format, or video form where you're actually talking to people and you actually just record your life. You record your life because your process is unique. Everybody's process is unique, is like a fingerprint. It's like there's all millions of faces in the world, and every face is unique, but everybody's journey is especially unique, because all those interactions and all those dynamics on a day-to-day basis are impossible to repeat, and they're super unique, because every day it's like a structure that decodes itself, and at the end of every day, when you look back at the result of every day, it's a super unique day, and nobody else has that day. And so therefore, if you share it, there will be an audience there for people to be able to at least collectively try to work towards philanthropy energy in this fashion, and make a fingerprint brand, like out of a personal brand, which actually can resonate with monetary energy. And it's a matter of connecting with the marketing and the marketplace and sliding in there with the uniqueness, because uniqueness cannot be duplicated in that respect, because there's so many unique angles from this world that you can enter in with these unique recording processes to be able to document and not create. It makes it easier to document and not create, and therefore you're able to develop this type of crave that the whole world has, so you can continue to share your story in pursuit of philanthropy energy, aka the North Star, for folks to make the roadmap to seek their core source of philanthropy energy. So yeah, you can participate in the world in the global games in this sense, and everybody's playing global games in this sense, and yeah, based on personal brands that revolve around philanthropy energy, and everybody's playing games like yes, oh yeah, oh in the world, oh yeah. It's necessary to also for me to think about trying to do engineering and learn engineering materials and such things like strength, intensity, and tensile strength, and this is in essence for the medical device field, so that in the SRF health, which means self-realization fellowship health field, that in the SRF health field, because SRF is a self-realization fellowship, which stands for spiritual science methodology, that has to do with what's backing up Dinky Tehc Change4Games Studios to be able to help older folks get around, because we're talking about engineering for building materials for making little scooters for older folks, so that older folks can be able to experience sometimes the all-terrain aspects, but it's vehicles for all folks necessarily, but also to be able to acknowledge that the older demographic can use definitely an upgrade in certain abilities to be able to have mobility devices to be able to be provided for them, also with extra sensors and extra per-sensory censorship that is able to be able to conceptually contribute to their experience and their process of living in older age, which is absolutely first worth increasing and improving the optimization for in that later time of life. Oh yeah. So one thing I need to try to also recall is to be able to continue to send mass mass AI art to a parent symbol, and also certain contributing friends, and also comrades, and such things to be able to send mass AI art as little symbols of accountability to absolve certain issues and such things, such as in the SRF health world and such things. These are symbols to be able to categorize and be able to conceptualize, to be able to fill orders that are like paper trades, in essence, to be able to make paper trades on these helpful symbols in the future, to be able to symbolize them and then be able to make them into podcasts, and then be able to make them into childhood storyboard, child books by being able to make quantifications by all these 3 dimensions that are 3 aspects to 3 podcasts that are divided into 3 every single day, and all with those abilities to be able to make little pictures for each one of them, and then be able to quantify them into stories that they can become child books, for example, and then also those can be fulfilled hopefully later as paper trades, because each of those little elements are trying to be transposed and transitioned into actions. In essence, that's why they're spoken about on the news, on this podcast, for example, and such things. And we're constantly learning about marketing at the same time, and learning about marketing tools as we're talking about AI agents and implementing more of a dense process of content, and spinning off of this podcast to be able to use this as a tree root and branch to be able to fulfill more orders in life with making this as like paper trading, because paper trees, yada yada yada. But anyways, paper entries, yada yada yada. So anyways, to be able to recall, to be able to send these art pieces, to be able to, like a parent and such things, or friends or comrades, such things, to be able to make childhood books on a day-to-day basis, to be able to actually release them maybe on Amazon, to be able to also add those links into the links that are below, into the podcast description. Oh yeah, that is an ambition to be talked about. Oh yeah, and also going back to talking about the church and the church mindset, and being able to learn and being able to make quantum jumps and quantum leaps with learning and such things, for example. This is an example, as a conclusion, for an example, to be able to jump back into that time into the podcast, to be able to acknowledge how podcast, I mean, symbols are able to be transposed in terms of hopefully like paper trading, and AI art can be used as hopefully like paper trading. For example, so we're talking about coalescing and colliding and collisioning with the vlog, for example, of making a waking life movie, for example, in the on the day-to-day basis with people that you encounter, to make a unique fabric of your life and a fingerprint out of your life for other people to experience and hopefully learn from, like edutainment. And with that in mind, you're able to continually build a brand and a personal brand and more awareness by gathering more awareness into the world, because digitization of content format is just a digitization and an expression and an expansion of energy off of the source energy that is a person. And so they're just tools to be able to digitize that energy to begin with, so be able to acknowledge that to begin with as just a tool to be able to expand that energy and be able to then sell that energy. People is able to create more monetary energy. Oh yeah. But the primary purpose of talking about the quantum leaping is because, in essence, when you're making little symbols of these child books, for example, it's not only connected to film, which is like making storyboards for a film. Like a child book is an example of just the storyboards that are just conceptualizing the eventual result that is the film, in essence, for example. And like this podcast is, for example, like the film. For example, we're like recording the whole thing that's being written in 3 parts from before. But for example, when you use little pictures, for example, like in a storyboard, for example, for like a child book storyboard, for example, that it hopefully is like something to be able to trade on, like paper trading, and you'll be able to transpose those things in the future. And like quantum leaping, in terms of quantum leaps, it creates a projection, like a projection board, and like a hope board, like a hope and interest board, to be able to project on for the future, for future references, for example, and then also learning, is able to transpose and transport yourself into little wormholes, because of the things that you're learning and the direction that you're trying to go, and being able to make a direction and an end result and a destination allows the little things that you learn to be little destinations, little vehicles to be able to transport you like goo, little parts of yourself like goop, into different parts, from jumping into the gap of the future, being able to quantum leap where you are from now into the future by transposing and being able to transmit something in energy into those certain aspects of AI art, or like symbols, for example, like such things like learning to be able to make scooters, for example, in the medical world, in the SRF world, which is like also talking about the transposition of the place where you are into the place where you want to go, and using that as a symbol of that AI art to be able to make those medical devices, make those scooters to be able for older folks to be able to get around and be able to serve that demographic market, as well as the SRF health market, the SRF health mindset, the spiritual science mindset market as a whole, in terms of both of those things, the physical and the mental realm, the digital realm, the non-tangible realm. Both of those realms being able to use the ability to learn engineering, even though I don't know engineering a lot at all, by being able to also combine with other people's energies and their engineering skills, and being able to result in the eventual result that is the AI art result of AI are deflecting and depicting those medical scooters existing for the older crowd because that crowd could also definitely benefit from it, and therefore that all results to and points to and redirects to and ends with the end result of philanthropy energy, 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 philanthropy energy. Oh yeah, the philanthropy energy games, the philanthropy energy global giving games, global giving games, global giving games like a childhood games, like global giving childhood games leading to philanthropic energy. Thanks again. All right, for now, Dinky Tehc. Bye. Peace. Bye.